The apex socio-cultural organization of the Igbo people, Ohanaeze Ndigbo, has a new leadership and elected members. They are the President General, Senator John Azuta-Mbata, the Deputy President General, Prince Okey, Nwadinobi, Secretary General Emeka, Si-be-udu, and other members of the executive team. Now, following their victory, accolades have continued to pour in. Former Anambra State Governor and 2023 presidential candidate, Mr. Peter Obi, Pan-Yoruba Socio-Cultural Organization, Afenifere, and the Ohanaeze Ndigbo Worldwide Youth Wing have all congratulated Senator John Azuta-Mbata on his emergence as the 13th President General of Ohanaeze Ndigbo.
In the midst of this, concerns have been raised on how the new leadership will be able to unite the Igbo community and direct and restore peace in the Southeast, represent the interests of all Igbo communities within and outside Nigeria, and more. We'll be joined by a guest who has followed closely from the pre-election period the emergence of a new leader and what this would mean for the group. We have public affairs analyst Chukwuma Okenwa. Good morning. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Okenwa. Okay, whilst we're trying to connect with Mr. Okenwa, it's important to mention that the Ohanaeze Ndigbo elections did cause a lot of rancor. There's been disagreement as to the leadership that has emerged. We've seen congratulations emerge from the presidency. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has congratulated John Mbata, saying, showing their support. And we've seen congratulations, of course, from the River State government. The River State governor is said to be a close ally to the new Ohanaeze Ndigbo leader. Now, the Ikwere people, there's an organization called Ogbako Ikwere Cultural Organization Worldwide. They seem to have expelled Senator John Azuta-Mbata, saying that they're not pleased with the fact that he has accepted this leadership because they do not believe that the Ikwere people are Igbo people. Now, again, this goes back to the argument as to really if the Ikwere people are a part of the Igbo community. Some argue for, others against. The ones who argue that the Ikwere people are part of the Igbo community would say that it dates as far back to the Nigerian Civil War and how that they started to distance themselves and dissociate themselves from the Igbo community after the Nigerian Civil War. But these are just some of the explanations that we have seen in different corners for and against the Ikwere people being a part of Ohanaeze Ndigbo. Yep. There have also been speculations as to the role that, again, Nyesom Wike might have played in all of this, because the statement is that Senator Azuta-Mbata is a close ally to Fubara, and that his acceptance of this, Fubara is obviously in approval of this, but that they think that this is to, in a way, spite Nyesom Wike, who reached an agreement between the Ikwere and Ijaw people that would last for as long as 50 years, and that was what produced, quote unquote, the emergence of Fubara as governor, and that now with this he's destabilizing the agreement that has been reached between the Ikwere and the Ijaw people. I'm hoping that we can have our guests join to shed some more light on that.
I'm honestly very confused as to what truly is the genuine crisis or concern, with Azuta-Mbata's emergence. Everybody agrees that it was time for River State, to bring.
I don't even know if they agree that, because what these people are saying is that he's not that Ikwere is not, they are not Igbo people. So that's what I think a part of them are saying. They have a number of things that they have listed as to what their grouse is. But maybe we can have public affairs analyst Chukwuma Okenwa help us with some clarity. Good morning, Mr. Okenwa. Thank you very much for joining us. Maybe you can help us shed some light as to what the drama is regarding the new President General of the Ohanaeze Ndigbo socio-cultural group. We're seeing here that a particular group called Ogbako Ikwere Cultural Organization Worldwide have expelled Senator John Mbata, saying that he's, of course, no longer a part of the Ikwere kinsmen, and that by accepting to be the President General of Ohanaeze Ndigbo, he has denounced, in a way, his association or being a part of the Ikwere people. Maybe you can help us shed some light on that and why that is such a big issue.
That what we see playing out is what is regarded to as maybe when you look at the studies in humanities, right, and social sciences, these are post-war realities, and typically in Igbo language we call it one name before the war, like we're together before the war, and very typical of what happened with the Germans and the Austrians. Austria is not different from Germany. As a matter of fact, Hitler happened to come from the Austrian part of the German Federation, before the war. And the interesting thing is that because of the heinous crime he committed during the Second World War, they simply dissociate themselves from anything Hitler. And that is why, like today, the Germans will tell you that the greatest achievement of Austrians is actually to make a Beethoven, who was known to be a born musician in Germany, to make him an Austrian and to dash them Hitler. So that's what we see typically. So before chapters 1967 to 1970, the war that almost tore the nation apart, we had like that level of regional integration. The Eastern Nigeria, were referred to like a group of people, Igbos, culturally, language-wise, the names. And I mean, I do not see any much difference between myself as an Enugu man and someone that is from Ikwere or Abo or even Abakaliki. Yes, the reality is that there are dialects. I mean, there are some parts of Igbo that when they speak, I sometimes struggle to understand, but when you look at it culturally, you discover that you are all one, right? You are all connected. So it's actually the post-war realities that we see that is playing out.
All right, and maybe if you can speak to the allegations. There are allegations that this is being backed by former Governor Nyesom Wike, and that there's a group that I think they're called the RRM, and that they have, of course, said that they're the ones who rejected Senator Azuta-Mbata as the President General of Ohanaeze Ndigbo. Do you think that this might be a bigger political picture at play beyond, what meets the eye? You're saying that it's post-war effect, but do you think that there's a political undertone to this?
Yeah, there is certainly. And of course, like what we see political actors doing is to leverage on the fact that there is that disaffection already. Because over the time, like right from university days, right from NYSC, when I get to like meet people, our brothers from maybe the South, and I'm like, oh, come on, what's your name? And the person say, my name is Chiwo, and I'm like, Chiwo, is it Chinwe? He said, well, that's their own version. I said, so what tribe are you? The person says, I'm Ikwere. I say, Ikwere is a place, not a tribe, right? Come on, what tribe? And they say, well, I'm Ikwere, I'm Abo, I'm this and all the rest of it. So you see like a situation where, people just want to describe themselves just simply by the place. So it's because of that disaffection. Politics is all about like winning. So anything that means winning, whether it's the ethnic divides, whether it's like some disaffection, politicians know how to combat that to political gains, and that's exactly what is happening. But one of the things I want to say is that Senator Mbata, right, who is a renowned Ikwere man and by extension also an Igbo man, he's looked at it, weighed it, and to him you can't tell a man who his father is, right? I mean, people can associate with me with my father today or my mom, because I can tell you, this is my mom, this is my father. What if he is not? And just like in the case of a woman who we say she is the one that tells you who is the father of a child. So he is man enough, he's been able to serve as an eminent member, of the society who has served in the Senate. And if he believes, and just like also, which is also like further confirmed by a Ikwere man, who also ran an election, of similar capacity in Port Harcourt, right? Even though that wasn't recognized, but I would also say that I have my reservations about that, because if you look at Ohaneze's constitution, it seems he followed the procedure for that particular election, but unfortunately, the big wigs doesn't seem to back Uche because he's seen as a very controversial, more like an activist. So all of those things, we saw it play out in the election that were just held.
All right, I'm going to bring back the political angle, again, but before that, just for some clarity, did everyone agree that it was time for Rivers State to produce the next Ohanaeze Ndigbo leader?
Yeah, sure, it's a constitutional issue. It's meant to be rotated across 7 Igbo states, right? Like states that where you have like Igbos. So you already know the 5 Southeast states, and then including Delta and Port Harcourt, right? Who are like those recognized as states where you have like Igbos, right? Largely dominate there.
Yeah, I mean, so is the confusion now, I mean, for those who do not agree with Azuta-Mbata's emergence, is their point that there's other parts of River State that are more Igbo aligned than Ikwere people? Or is there something else that we're missing here?
So the major thing there is that, like in the Ikwere community, you see two categories of people. People who are speaking up saying, it's time for Igbo Renaissance. We agree we are Igbos. And for some of those persons, one way or the other, like even before now, when you see like an Ikwere man come out boldly to accept that he's an Igbo man, it looks like there's already like some structure to suppress some dissenting voices. So the narrative has always been, as much as possible, dissociate ourselves. Because it was like, to me, it was a survival strategy during the war. Dissociate yourself from this group and you shall live, right? So it does also appear that in a time like this, where in many cases there are choruses, there are references to a possible marginalization of this section of the country, then what some voices might also think is the smartest thing to do is, let's stay as far as these persons, if like we are going to be assured of a political survivor, because I could tell you, even the way it is at the moment, it would be easier for our current nation to endure or tolerate someone from the South, maybe running for the position of a president or becoming a president, like in the case of Goodluck Jonathan, than someone who identifies as an Igbo man, and then like some of those war memories and stuff like that. These are still realities in our current dispensation. We still see the agitations sometimes even happening.
Unfortunately, yes. Now, let's also talk about the political angle. I've recently just seen an interview with Uche Okuku, who, of course, has been very vocal as to his own relationship, with Ohanaeze Ndigbo. He, seems to have his own faction that he leads. He also is saying that that elections were also held in River State that declared him winner and President General of Ohanaeze Ndigbo. And he's criticizing the involvement of the Southeast governors in the elections, of the Ohanaeze Ndigbo elections. He says that there's too much involvement of politics. Ohanaeze Ndigbo election should not be held in Enugu State Government House. It should be held in River State instead, where you can have the freedom of other delegates to participate in the elections. So do you agree with his criticism of the involvement of political leaders in the socio-cultural group and its elections? And, of course, Uche Okuku's points.
Well, there are two sides to this. First and foremost, let me say that I agree entirely with this position, because what is reasonably expected is that, first and foremost, that the election holds in the state, whose turn it is to produce the president. And since like now it's a turn of River State to produce, the election should have held in River State, and the one that produced them, of course, held in Rivers. So secondly, it's not traditional and constitutional for such elections to be held in government houses. So that's like a sort of red flag on its own. But beyond that, for some of us that are political observers and interested in issues that has to do with the region, would also commend the level of endorsement even beyond the 5 Southeast governors. It looked like what the Southeast governors did was to actually increase the value of Ohanaeze, because it just looked like over the time it's not been as strong as Arewa, Consultative Forum, and of course the Afenifere. And it's been a consign, because sometimes you just see like Ohanaeze more like every other group, right? Just making press statements here and there, not truly representing the concerns of Ndigbo, and speaking up, constantly advocating for issues that has to do with the welfare and the security, of the people. You don't see them like providing that particular leadership. So for the very first time that we now see all of the key stakeholders coming together, I see that as a renewal of the mandate of Ohanaeze, and something that everyone should be proud of, that moving beyond now, even though there's not a political dimension, which of course is reasonably expected because whatever guise or anything that is socio-cultural, one aspect that socio-cultural will not even admit is that the core mandate is to push for the political gains, right? Influence policies, influence decisions, advocate for issues that affect them. All of these things are all about politics. It's not just all about casting votes, right? But they use socio-cultural aspect, win that ethnic sentiments, and then use it, galvanize all of it to advocate for the key things, which is politics. So I see an Ohanaeze becoming stronger. And what I think I would advise Uche is that, yes, he is right, and whatever he's demanding for now, it is correct. But the simple truth is that, I think, considering the pace at which things are now, he could only just align, right? Unfortunately, politicians do not flow with an activist, right? And perhaps all we just need at this point may not just be activism to actually galvanize this level of support that we see currently.
If you said that Uche should just align, do you also say that Michael Kiro should just align? I mean, part of the reason why he stepped down was because of the court order. And then he said he's from Rivers State. If you can answer that in 30 seconds. He says he's not from, based on the court order is saying he's not from Rivers State. He's saying he's from Rivers State. So what are your thoughts? Do you think he will align as well? Or he probably should fight back?
He should, if all of them currently are interested in Igbo Renaissance and for us to move forward. Then, Bataled, you need to see all of the big wigs, including the Imobi, endorse him. The Imobi is like the Supreme Court within Ohanaeze. So you can't go against all of that, right? I mean, a tree cannot make it. Yes, we know that you are right in yourself, but you haven't got all of the support of the stakeholders, right?
Well,
it's not just enough to do all of those things. So I think it's time to get it right. And
Chukwuma
everyone
Okenwa,
should align.
If he says that the court gave an order based on the fact that they said he's from Imo State and he has verifiable evidence that he's from Rivers State, and we all agree that it's the turn of the Rivers people, I guess time will tell. Let's see how this will all play out. He might have a valid point there. Thank you very much, Chukwuma Okenwa, for joining us this morning. Do have a wonderful rest of the weekend.